becoming everything you are. And I'm your host, Marcia Hughes. During the Black Engineer of the Year Awards Conference, I've assisted participants in unearthing their stellar achievements in STEM excellence with the goal of revealing their career and advancing brilliance of STEM essence. BEA STEM Conference is the place where trailblazing STEM professionals turn their STEM story into STEM stardom. And now, please welcome our next guest.
My name is Samantha Mitchell. I'm with the Bowen Company. I'm on international programs for the Chinook. I'm also the founder and president of Black Women in Aviation. My interesting fact is that I was the first female mechanic at JFK for Air Jamaica.
Yes, this is Samantha. Say hello to Samantha Mitchell. She's with Bowen and the Black Women in Aviation. Samantha is a professional speaker, two-time best-selling author, and 25-year aviation professional. She is the founder and president of Black Women in Aviation, where she empowers and advances Black women in the aviation pathways. She was the first female mechanic at Air Jamaica out of the John Kennedy Airport. Welcome and congratulations, Samantha. How you doing?
I am amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing is an understatement. You've been doing some incredible work. Let's talk about your journey. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I was clueless, okay? I had no idea what I wanted to be. And really, it comes down to just being open and being obedient to what's for you. Because I feel like all of the things that I've been blessed with, like I didn't strategically plan them all out. I just really walked in a path that was mine. I feel like from the time that I was created, this has all been laid out for me, and I'm just walking along those steps, making it all happen. So,
I love it.
Yeah, I really had no clue. I've been blessed with meeting some phenomenal people and just making some connections that opened me up to new opportunities.
So what did you want to be when you were a little girl?
My mom, she recognized that I had a high mechanical aptitude. So she was like, Sam, you should do something with your hands. And I didn't. I was the fixer in the house. Something broke. I was always trying to figure it all out. And I was like, okay, I guess fixing things means I should be a mechanic. And so then I was like, what do I know? I was like, I know car mechanic. So I was like, I should be an auto mechanic when I grow up, is what I told myself. Until I was in high school and, everyone's going to college and going away, all these cool things. And I was like, I just felt some type of way. Like, I was like, is this really what I'm trying to do? Mm-hmm. But I knew that I enjoyed working with my hands. And then one day I was home and I got a brochure. And the brochure was from Vaughan College of Aeronautics. And it said aircraft maintenance technician and a 4-year degree. And I was like, oh.
God sent you that.
Yes. Because, sometimes you just throw away stuff. You don't look at it.
Exactly. Right.
That one was sent for me in the moment when I was in massive confusion. And I saw it, and it was exactly what I needed. I knew I wanted to leverage my mechanical aptitude, and I knew I needed to get a 4-year degree. Right. So it was both combined, and I just was like, this is mine.
I love it. So, but, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, just, got the big, and she's just perfection, right? So I can't see you underneath a car, let alone an airplane, working all those gears and dealing with the little turbo, whatever. Let's talk about what those experiences are when you first started with that first airplane.
Yeah, so I said I worked for Air Jamaica.
Air Jamaica. That's an airport, a corporation.
Yeah, so that's the airline. That airline is no longer in existence, okay? But when I got there, it was all men. So I was the first. And I remember them clearing out their magazines and just all of the things that an all-male place would have. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, Sam, what are you really walking into? But there was a female who, she was based in Jamaica, and she said, Sam, you're going to be good. You just got to muscle through, like, make sure your skin is thick. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, It was thick, but now you're telling me this. I'm wondering, is it thick enough? So I get there, and really the experiences that I had there for men that were of Jamaican descent. And so Jamaican men are very strong-minded in what women should be doing. And it was not me being their peer, turning wrenches and working on aircraft. And so really just knowing that I wasn't going to be able to change their perspective, but I needed an ally. I needed someone. And I was like, everyone can't be against me, is what I told myself. And as I was going through it, I realized that there was one gentleman there who he was excited to see me. He was excited for the diversity. And I was like, that's my guy. So I'm like, I gotta hook my caboose to him. And he really taught me everything. He was on the avionics side, and I didn't really want to do that. But I said, well, if this is what you got to do in order to build yourself up, this is what you have to do.
Well, put a pin right there, because I don't know what the avionics side means.
Okay.
Can you speak to that?
Sure. So that's the electrical side. So
Okay.
when we're in school, you have your airframe and power plant. So you're working like on the engines and all of the other things that come up. But this was more electrical and troubleshooting, which for me was more complex. And I was like, okay. And he was like, I'm going to teach you. And I was like, okay, I want to learn with you because you want to teach me. Because what I didn't tell you was, as all that was going through, like I knew who was a fan and I knew who wasn't a fan. And I remember one night specifically where I was like, I questioned if I really belonged there. And so there was a Airbus. We worked on Airbus predominantly. So it was an A340, which is huge. So there's 4 engines. It's equivalent to Boeing 747, right? And there was a tire change that needed to happen that night. So the aircraft comes in. It's our responsibility to do a walk around and make sure everything is good. And I noticed that we needed to change the tire. So my partner for that night was not someone who was pro Sam. And I was like, okay. So I said, all right, so we have a tire change tonight. And he was like, go hump it on. And I was like, me? Like this tire is bigger, like at the time, right? I'm like 20. The tire just seemed bigger than me, even if it wasn't. It was huge.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm supposed to change this tire by myself?
Right.
I'm like, I can't. Like in my head, I was just so filled with fear. And then my goal really was to be in this industry and to always make it home safe. So I'm thinking of all the things that could go wrong. And I was just like, I'm not doing this. This just can't be it. And it was that night that I went to the gentleman who I said, he was my ally. He said, Sam, come work with me. And I told him what was going on. And it was funny because he laughed. He said, and I was like, why are you laughing at me? Like, I already feel like horrible, and now you're laughing. And he was like, Sam, I wouldn't even do it. And I'm like, but you're a guy. So you're a guy, you won't do it. So I'm like, so why am I beating myself up? And I'm brand new, that I can't, and I won't change this tire on my own. And you're telling me with all these years of experience that you won't? And it was in that moment, I was like, okay, this is it. I don't have to prove myself with all of the things.
Test.
It was a test.
Yeah.
It was a test.
Oh, girl, I have some of those stories too. We'll have to share those after the interview. But I'm telling you, that brought you into the clan.
Mm-hmm.
That whole group, they said, okay, she's one of us.
Yes, it really did. And it comes down to people are going to test you, and then they see your capability. So now you're building up that trust factor. Like you know who I am. You maybe like me, maybe don't. But do you trust me based off of how I execute?
Do you trust me, and do you respect me?
That part.
That part right there.
That part.
That part right there. Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, you can see she's beautiful. So she had to overcome the fact because they thought that she was beautiful and she could do whatever she couldn't do anything because she was beautiful. And these tires are bigger than this wall almost.
Right. Yeah. That's what it felt like.
Right.
And to your point, working there, I covered up a lot of so I'm in an industry and a space now where I could be my true authentic self. Back then, like I had it was JFK, cold winters, extremely hot summers. I had my head wrapped up, I had my hat on, you couldn't tell that I was Sam. You didn't know male or female. You just knew there was this person. And there's some guys who they have a cute face. So like, okay, so if the face is cute, the face is cute. But you couldn't see anything. To the point where my boyfriend, who's my now husband, he said, Sam, we can't go out together before you go to work just because of how I looked.
He said, oh no, we won't be doing this.
No, he sure did. I was like, but I'm going to work. Like, I'm going to what? Girl. So yes, it was that intense.
Yes. And you know, a lot of us go through that. We women have had these experiences. But here's the beauty, Sam, that you were able to overcome that, and you withstood that madness, and you were straight up with them. They couldn't walk over you. You put them, made certain that they respected you. And I'll tell you another story after the interview, but sometimes you have to go through the test to get where you really want to be. And it isn't always pleasant.
No.
But when you get to the other side, it's worth that investment.
Absolutely.
Right?
And what I've found, though, is life is just filled with tests.
Yes.
And if you think that there's not going to be a test, you're already failing in life. You have to know the tests are going to show up. You have to identify the tools in your toolbox that you're able to use when these tests show up. And that's how you're really able to work through to get to the other side.
But first, you got to have a toolbox. That one.
That one.
You've got to have the toolbox. So if you don't even go in there ready and have some of the items that you need in how you speak, how you present yourself, how you listen. When you listen, you got to listen. You got to listen to every single word. Find out where that comma is and the semicolon and the exclamation point. You can hear it.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
can hear it. You can hear it. And too often we dismiss those things. It's the little nuances.
Yes.
Let's talk about nuances in an environment with a tire that's at least 6 feet tall.
I mean, the nuances comes down to you really believing in yourself, because you can be your own nuance.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've learned from being out on the commercial side to even like transferring over to rowing is knowing yourself, your own personal development journey, and how that can be that nuance within yourself, the battle of you against you. Because that is a battle that we are facing every single day. And the tools really, we're talking about tools. I'm a mechanic, so I got tools.
Right.
The tools that I'm using really are, what are you doing every single day to prime yourself so that you show up as your best self? And if you don't have a routine, if you don't have a ritual to where you're priming yourself every day, you're already starting the day at a lesser value, which means now when someone shows up, catches you off guard, and now you're going to drop into a negative state. Like, our goal is to always be in peak state, as much peak as we could be, and to not drop down into the negative. So those rituals for me are what I've used over the years to really build myself up so that when things happen, I'm minimally phased. Like, it might drop me down a little bit, but like my goal is to never have anyone or any circumstance drop me down into a negative state.
Because you would be unemployed.
I would be unemployed. I would not be living life.
Right.
Like, it would be all of the things.
Right. Period.
Period.
So I bet you have a toolbox. And in that toolbox, what do you have?
In my toolbox, and when I talk about the rituals and the things you do, personal development is really, really important. And personal development is what I use every day to get me ready for all of the obstacles that I know are going to come to me being in a male-dominated space, being in life.
Yeah, period.
Right?
Survival mode, right.
Yeah, so one of the tools that I use the most is like priming. And so we're always being primed. Like, you're in a restaurant, the restaurant's priming you to speed up, to feel like you need to get out. When you take full responsibility for priming yourself, now you're taking it away from all of the outside factors that are priming you, and some of us aren't even aware that we're being primed. So what if you took that, intentionally primed yourself for what you wanted? How much would you really attract? And so it's my, like every single day, I'm like, what's my intention for the day? How am I priming my day? How am I showing up grateful? Because I want all of these things to multiply, and gratitude is a really big part of that.
I like that gratitude.
Gratitude.
That takes it to a whole nother level to be able to reflect on what you've accomplished and how you've gotten to a place and being grateful for the ability to do that and to receive all that has been properly planned for you as an individual, as a human.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we sometimes we get caught up in all of that I call it outside noise,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the outside noise sometimes tries to penetrate your senses.
Mm-hmm.
But I just put on armor, and I can't beyond that. You can't come over here and do that here,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that here. It's too strong.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we look at it as women, particularly women in color, at Boeing, how many employees are there? And it's like a multi-bazillion-dollar corporation, and you've entered into that space. How does that feel when you go in, and now that you've been here for a little while, what does this look like in your participation on this side? And where's your next level that you're going to go?
Right. So being at Boeing, which Boeing was the place that I absolutely wanted to be at. I knew that coming out of college, the Boeing company was where I wanted to work. And being in college really primed me for being at Boeing and being in aviation on a whole, just with the lack of diversity that exists in aviation altogether. And so when I show up in a space, I'm often, you know what? So Marsha, let's transparently, like I'm the only black woman, and so that was 20 years ago, and 20 years later, I still show up, and I'm the only black woman.
20 years later.
20 years later, and what that made me realize is that there's initiatives in place to drive diversity. It's not going at the pace in which I'm seeing a difference in my tenure. So what does that really mean? And I mean, honestly, like that's part of why I formed my nonprofit, is just knowing that I'm oftentimes showing up and I'm the only black woman. There's women, but to this day, I'm the only black woman. And I'm like, but how is this so? Am I truly alone? And so where are the other amazing black women who are in the aviation industry, and also those who we can attract to the aviation industry so that we could truly fuel that pipeline, so that we could increase the diversity beyond the 1%. Black women in aviation is less than 1%. And when I say those numbers, it truly disheartens me. And I'm like, it hasn't changed. When is it going to change? And so now I've really taken on that personal responsibility to help change that trajectory of the diversity or lack thereof in the aviation sector. And I could say that being at Boeing has taken strides. It hasn't really been to the place where I'm seeing it. And people could say, well, because I've been there so long, I could be that person that elevates within the company. But I don't believe that me elevating in the company is necessarily attributed to being like driving the diversity. I know that my presence alone and how I show up, that's a gift to other women. So when they see me, they know that they too can be a part of this industry. That if they see me in these high level meetings, that they too could be a part of it. But it's not easy. I got to do 10 times the work of the other person to show up in that space. I have to show up confidently to let my voice be heard.
But see, you were put in that place because you do have the voice to be able to attract and to retain what you've attracted to affect the change that you really want to see.
And that's something, like I said in the beginning, I didn't plan it. I didn't know that this was my assignment.
Right. And you have to walk in that assignment.
And it's that action that allows you the visibility to see what that purpose is. So many people are like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm here to do, but they're not doing anything. but in the art of doing, you will discover. And that's what we've learned.
And even first of all, you got to even see yourself there. You got to see yourself doing the tire, like when you looked at. You got to see that, but then you also have to see this broader picture of an internal organization that has old, antiquated rules and regulations. And many of these corporations are seeing that diversity is key. And in order for all of these corporations to be able to grow and to have a balanced workforce, they have to come to places like the Black Engineer of the Year Awards Conference and the Women of Color Awards Conference to be able to have real live conversations to discuss who we are, where we are, and what we need to be doing. And it's huge.
It's huge.
And it's necessary.
Absolutely.
Right? But you've already started that process. You have the mantle to be able to move forward. You have already positioned yourself in leadership to accomplish whatever those next steps need to be.
And with that, I'm human, and so I need the inspiration. So being at the Baya Conference, being at the Women of Color Conference, with seeing other amazing Black women, Black excellence. There's over 12,000 people here at this 2024 conference. 12,000 people, Black excellence.
Right.
And I'm blown away. And
Right.
so that's an inspiration for me to continue what I'm doing and to be able to leverage the excellence around me, because it's really important to have energy around you, because that energy is what's fueling me for my next step. And so this is fuel.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And you can turn that key and make certain that it keeps running.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because now that you've done the test, you've already gone through it. You don't got the shield. You do it. You're good. And what's the beauty is you bringing people along with you so that these conversations, and that's why we're here at Baya, to be able to have those conversations with people who are going through the same thing you're going through. Because when you look at the fact that all of these people of color that are in this building, and they go to every major Fortune 500, Fortune 800, they're coming out of here because the best of the best are here in this platform.
Absolutely. They're all here. And
right.
So being able to see them, touch them, you're like, it's possible.
It is.
Yes. And that you deserve it. I mean, it comes down into having that belief of, I'm here at Baya and I'm not a spectator. And so one of the things I always tell people, regardless of which conference you're going to, go to the conference with intentionality. Make sure you know why you're showing up. Set the intention so that it subconsciously will attract all of the things that you intentionally wanted to happen.
Right.
And when you reflect on it,
right,
you're like, oh my goodness, what I intended is my reality. And so you're in a phenomenal place.
I love it. Give us 3 things as takeaways for young women of color to take away and survive in Fortune 1000 corporations.
Number 1 is you are enough. You are absolutely enough to be able to take it on, to do whatever it is. Number 2 is dream big. It is possible for you to take on any responsibility that you want, not that someone else wants for you. And lastly, it comes down to being able to leverage your 10% confidence, because there's going to be times where adversity shows up and you absolutely have to have the tools in your toolbox to overcome those obstacles. There's going to be the ebbs and the flows, and make sure that that confidence is what you're using to be able to come out of that ebb and get back into that state of flow.
I love it. But before we roll out, I need to have you give a shout out and a brief, something talking about the Black women in aviation.
Yes. So Black women in aviation is going on 2 years old this year, and we are super excited about what's going on. I mean, when I tell you the events that we have lined up this year, and my favorite, there's a couple, but this is like when we talk about aviation history and the groundbreaking history Like I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and my goal is to be that giant that someone else stands on.
Mhm.
So 328, we are having the Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day hosted at the Dover Air Force Base. And this is a joint venture with Legacy Flight Academy that Black Women in Aviation is hosting. And so this event is going to be phenomenal. There's going to be a series of like the junior ROTC cadets that are going to be there, as well as like state political folks that are going to be there, and other special invitees. But this event is really showcasing the fact that so last year, Delaware was the first state that signed its Bill 22, honoring the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Oh.
So every fourth Thursday of March is Tuskegee Airmen
Oh, I
Commemoration
love
Day.
it.
And so we said, so now what? So this first year, we're like, we need to host an event, and we need to let it be known because of the history. There's so many people, even in aviation, that do not understand
At all.
the legacy
At all.
at all. So we're going to drive that education, drive that exposure, and really do it big.
Great.
Yes.
So keep us posted.
We absolutely will.
Please do.
Our social media handles, Black Women in Aviation, are out there. The events are out there. We have a website for the event. And so stay tuned on our social media, and you'll be able to keep up with the events as they're all coming forth, because there's a lot that's coming out this year. We're super excited.
I love it. And Baltimore, Delaware is only up the road 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank
It's
you.
wonderful.
It's been a pleasure.
Okay. And enjoy the rest of the weekend. I know that you're going to look at some of the things happening down in the career fair, and
Yes.
being able to sit in some of those seminars. It's huge.
And so I'm intentionally going to the career fair
Intentionally.
to meet the Black Chinook pilot that is down there. Someone told me about her yesterday. Today I'm going there to go meet her.
What's a Chinook pilot?
So the Chinook is, I work on the Chinook program.
Okay.
It's a military aircraft. It's tandem rotor. So there's two.
Oh, yes, on the wings, but they're flat.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Or
You might be talking about the
horizontal.
B-22,
Okay,
the one
that's
that
not it?
converts. It's not that
Oh,
one. So
okay,
this one is the workhorse.
I love it.
This one's the workhorse, but there's the aft, the forward, and the aft. So you're going to see two sets of blades of propellers. So what's cool about this one is I have been at Boeing for over 20 years, and we have a female that she supports, and she's a pilot. I've never seen a black one. I've never seen a black male. So here today with the Air National Guard, they've informed me that there's a black woman Chinook pilot. I'm super
I
excited
love
to go meet
it.
her.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
So we need to go find the black Chinook pilots downstairs.
That's today's goal.
That's today's goal. So
Yes.
bring her on up here to me so we can interview her.
Ooh. There you go. Marsha, I got you.
Oh, I know.
got you.
I know.
Because I'm going to find him.
I know.
Aviation history at its best.
At its best.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sammy. You know you're stuck now.
You know what?
You're part of the Baya family.
When you are a part of greatness, you are never stuck. It's not.
But see, I like stuck because stuck means you can't move. You're gonna be right there in this thing as we grow and keep growing. Look at this. This is taking up all, I don't know how many blocks.
Girl, I'm like blown away. Over 12,000 people. I can't even fathom what next year looks like.
So yesterday I was sitting here, excuse me, and all of a sudden, because you can see across the street, there were these wide line of people walking together like it was a Martin Luther King walk, kind of with them, I looked up, ran down there. There were people, young people, old people, everybody coming to the convention center and registering. There was no room to walk down there. That was day one of Baya. And see, Baya's been gone for a while. So we're real happy in Baltimore. Baltimore showed out on the kickoff.
They sure did.
They did. We're really happy about it.
It's good times.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. You know that we're going to stay in touch with Samantha Mitchell and the Boeing Corporation. So we're excited, and we're going to have more people who are going to sit in that chair and tell us some of their greatest stories. Thank you.